Welcome back to the channel, True Crime fans. Look, if you're hunting for daily crime updates and stories with a twist you'll literally never see coming, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe right now. Today we are opening a case file that's going to chill you to your absolute core. I've looked at a lot of files as an investigator, but this one, man. We're traveling back to the 1930s, to a quiet little town called Correggio in northern Italy. It starts with a seemingly ordinary family. Raffaele Pansardi, his wife Leonarda Cianciulli, and the 4 kids. They lost everything in an earthquake, moved to town with nothing but the clothes on their backs. The locals welcomed them, and Leonarda even set up a really successful homemade soap business. But underneath that wholesome, neighborly surface, pure darkness. Let's get into the video.
So, let me ask you this. How far would a mother go to save her favorite son from the horrors of war? I mean, most people would pray, right? Maybe try to pull some strings or just weep. But Leonarda? No. Her mind operated in these incredibly dark, twisted depths of paranoia and just absolute desperate devotion. To really understand the unspeakable horrors she pulled off, we've got to flip the pages of this case file back to the very beginning of her life.
Section 1. The Mother's Dark Curse.
Okay, so Leonarda's childhood was a literal nightmare. She wasn't just neglected, she was the physical punching bag for a mother who deeply resented her after being disowned by her own wealthy family. Fast forward to when she's 21, and Leonarda finally finds this tiny glimmer of hope. She falls in love with Raffaele Pansardi. But when she brings them home to announce they're getting married, her mother just explodes. She violently opposes the union, screams insults, and practically chases them out of the house. And as they're running away, her mother screams this chilling curse right at her back. Quote, "You cannot escape my curse. You will never be happy in life." And you guys, for the rest of her days, Leonarda felt that dark presence stalking her every single move. She truly, deeply believed she was cursed.
And tragically, life kind of seemed to prove that curse right. Get this. Out of 14 pregnancies, Leonarda lost 10 children. 10! Just think about that kind of loss for a second. They either ended in miscarriages or they passed away when they were very young. This immense, totally incomprehensible grief just completely consumed her. The 4 kids who actually survived, they became her whole universe. She watched over them with this suffocating, obsessive paranoia, absolutely terrified that her mother's curse was eventually going to swing back around and claim them too.
So, desperate for some kind of answer, she visits a palm reader. An astrologer looks at her hands and basically delivers a prophecy that seals her fate. The mystic tells her, yeah, you'll have children, but they're gonna die young. And it gets worse. The astrologer predicts that Leonarda's future ends in a prison cell and a mental asylum. Now, as an investigator reviewing this timeline, this right here is the pivot. Her superstition is totally locked in now. To her, the curse is 100% real, and the clock is ticking on those 4 surviving kids.
Section 2. A desperate, twisted sacrifice.
All right, let's fast forward a bit to 1939. The family had been in Correggio for a decade, and things actually seemed pretty stable. Leonarda was popular. She made soap, baked tea cakes, even read palms and fortunes for the locals. But World War II is looming over Europe, and that acts as the ultimate trigger that just shatters the last fragile pieces of her sanity. Her oldest and definitely her favorite son, 17-year-old Giuseppe, starts acting weird, locking his door, avoiding her. Then one day, a customer casually mentions to Leonarda that Giuseppe is going to join the army. Her blood runs cold. Giuseppe had secretly enlisted. The 1939 draft was here, and in her mind, the curse had finally arrived to take her precious boy. She shuts down her shop, locks herself in her room, and just weeps. She knows she's got to do something extreme.
She turns back to her occult and fortune-telling books, desperately searching for a loophole to break this curse. And she lands on this really macabre, calculated mathematical equation. To save a life, you have to give a life. Basically, she believed that if she offered human sacrifices to the universe would reward her by putting a magical, protective barrier around Giuseppe. The logic is completely horrifying, but you have to understand, to a mind that's been fractured by trauma and terror, it made perfect, deadly sense.
Section 3. Deceiving the 3 victims.
Now, using her reputation as the town's trusted, helpful fortune teller, Leonarda basically knew everybody's secrets, so she seeks out the vulnerable, desperate women in her community who needed her help. She zeroes in on 3 women, offering them a way out of their current miseries, and her deception was perfectly tailored. For 70-year-old Faustina, she promised an older husband in a neighboring town. For Francesca, an impoverished widow, it was a lucrative job in Switzerland. And for her very own best friend, a former singer named Virginia, a gig at a grand opera house in Florence. The reality, though, as each of these women came over to say a final secret goodbye, Leonarda poured them a glass of drugged wine. The second they passed out, she bludgeoned them to death with an axe and dismembered their bodies.
Section 4. The gruesome soap recipe.
What happens next turns this case file into straight-up nightmare fuel. Leonarda processed these bodies with a clinical, terrifying detachment. She used the skills she'd honed in her own kitchen to literally dispose of the evidence and finish her dark, sacrificial ritual. Here's the exact, step-by-step procedure she confessed to. She cut each victim into 9 pieces. She drained their blood into a basin. Then, she threw the body parts into a massive pot of boiling water and caustic soda, which, by the way, is the exact same chemical used in soap making. She boiled them until they dissolved into this thick, dark mush. Now, with the first 2 victims, the mixture was a bit too dark and poor quality, so she actually baked the dried sludge and the blood into tea cakes. But her final victim, Virginia, Leonarda literally noted that her flesh made a very smooth, creamy, high-quality soap, which she then scented with expensive perfumes.
And guys, here is the absolute darkest twist of this entire video. The reason she made the soap and the cakes. It wasn't just to hide the bodies, no. To create that so-called magical barrier for her son, she forced Giuseppe to bathe using the soap she made from her best friend Virginia. As she scrubbed his back in the tub, she literally fed him the tea cakes baked with the victim's remains. She honestly believed she was anointing him, completely shielding him from the bullets of World War II.
Section 5. The investigation and arrest.
But as any true crime investigator will tell you, no matter how clever a killer thinks they are, there is always a loose thread. The families of these 3 women, they hadn't forgotten them. They filed missing persons reports, and pretty soon, the authorities are standing right on Leonarda's doorstep. Let's look at the timeline of how this unraveled. Initially, Leonarda totally deflects the cops by showing them these fake postcards, supposedly written by the victims from their new towns. But the investigators dug deeper. They traced the postmarks, and guess what? They weren't from Switzerland or Florence. They were from a small neighboring town. When they interviewed the post office clerk over there, he described the person mailing the letters. He said it was a young man with dark hair and striking blue eyes. The police instantly recognized the description. It was Giuseppe. They raided the house and arrested him right on the spot.
Leonarda had to just watch from the sidelines as the curse seemed to strike again. Her beloved son was in handcuffs. So desperate to save Giuseppe once more, she marches straight down to the precinct. She sits in the interrogation room and confesses immediately, taking full, absolute responsibility just to secure his release. And at first, the detectives literally laughed at her. They could not believe this middle-aged woman could execute such brutal, calculated crimes on her own. But then, she started giving them the gruesome details. When the police went back and checked the house, they found the axe, the caustic soda, the blood evidence. It was all horribly, unthinkably real.
The trial was an absolute spectacle. The judge just looked at Leonarda in total disbelief. But hey, the evidence was undeniable. She was sentenced to 30 years in prison, followed by 3 years in a criminal asylum. And if you think back to that astrologer's prophecy from decades earlier, the one that specifically predicted prison and an asylum, it had perfectly, tragically fulfilled itself. Leonarda eventually died in that asylum in 1970 at the age of 76.
So as we close this incredibly dark case file, we are left with some really haunting questions. Was Leonarda driven mad by a genuine curse? Or was it the severe psychological trauma inflicted by her own abusive mother? And what the heck happened to Giuseppe? After he got released, his father fled town, his siblings changed their names, and Giuseppe quietly went off and joined the army under an assumed name. To this day, his fate remains completely unknown. Did he actually survive the war his mother killed 3 women to protect him from? Let me know your theories down in the comments below. Look, if this case chilled you as much as it did me, do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more dark crime stories every single day. See you guys in the next one.